Aloha, namaste. This is Radha Home, and I'm here to talk about our full moon, which is coming up on June 3rd, Saturday, at 5:42 p.m. here in Hawaii, which is 8:42 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So this full moon is happening in a star called Jyestha, and Jyestha is ruled by Indra, who's the king of the gods, and he's the one who carries the Vajra, the lightning bolt. In the story of Indra, he has created this monster named Vritra through his own ego. It's sort of a long winded story, but he rejected his guru Jupiter, the representation of Jupiter, who is his counselor, his guide, and as a result, the guru of the devas, of whom he's king, leaves them, and they're to their own devices. And there's this ever going battle between the asuras and the devas in the Vedic mythology. The devas are the beings of light, or the ones who are moving closer to their divinity, and the asuras are the beings without light, who are sort of hanging out in the lower vibrations of greed and envy and lust and gluttony and things like this. And there's always needing to be this balance of power in the universe. So when the devas sort of make their mistakes and create their mishaps, which happens often, the asuras gain more power. And the asuras also gain power through tapasya, through this devotion to Shiva, to exercise and practicing austerities and meditation, and being able to delay gratification for things. So maybe they, practice some specific austerity for thousands of years, and then they gain a boon from Shiva, and this gives them some kind of power. So we see all these different stories have demons that have come from these different boons, these different powers they were given for practicing their own self-discipline, but not having any bhakti, not having any love, not having any capacity to take whatever they're doing and offer it to everyone else and to the world at large. So they're using it for selfish purposes. And of course, these are images for us to seek in our own self. We all have both of these operating within ourselves at all times. And so we get into our ego, we get into our, our selfishness, we get into our greed. And when we're operating from that vibration, the demons are winning, right? And when we're operating from our higher selves, then the devas are winning. But in the stories, the devas often have a lot of ego also, and Indra is the most egoic of all of them. He causes a lot of problems for himself and for the other devas with this ego. And so in this story, it again, it's kind of a long story, because first there's this whole battle and this whole war, and in it he kills Vishvarupa, who is the son of Vastar, who's the creator. And so from that, he ends up creating a monster named Vritra. And Vritra drinks all the waters of the earth, and he goes and hides in a cave. So his belly is full of all this water. And Indra has to gather the courage and his lightning bolt and go down into that cave and stab the belly of the beast and release all the waters back to the world. And when we think of this particular star, Jyestha, which is the eldest, which is also, or the foremost, which is what Indra is, it's in Scorpio. It's at the end of Scorpio. And this is an emotional sign. It's a water sign, but it's also ruled by Mars. So it's an angry emotional sign. It's where we have a lot of confusion around what is happening in the world around us. And we tend to create monsters out of little bugs. We tend to think that something that is small, that we could easily squash, but can harm us, that can hurt us, is this massive, dragon-like creature that requires all of our courage to face it. And we all have things like this in our life, whether it's, an insecurity we have, or an issue we have, a relationship issue we have with someone that we've really, turned into this big thing, or whether it's some kind of thing we don't want to take care of in our life that feels, monumental, and it's not. So this is where we're really in it. We're in the drama, we're in the roller coaster, the emotions, and the moon is particularly challenged in Scorpio. So when we say our full moon is in Scorpio, in the Western astrology world, people are like, Scorpio, but the truth is this is where the moon is debilitated. And, and now it's actually there. So it is a place where we have a lot of emotional turmoil and a lot of feelings of being a victim. Like, woe is me, everybody's against me, everybody's harming me, and I need to fight back. And so we also can see that one of the problems that happens is we don't release our emotions along the way. We don't share our feelings along the way. We don't tell people how they can help us or what we're feeling or the ways in which we're having these problems. We tend to blame and project. And this doesn't sit well with other people, right? So they don't respond the way we want them to, which is another big quality within the Scorpio realm, is that of control, wanting to control the way people respond to things. And so we lash out, we sting with our stinger. So this is a really beautiful time to sit with our inner courage, to face the ways in which we've created the messes we're in. We've created our relational issues. We've created the mountain of work we have in front of us that no one's helping us with. We've created, the problem where we feel like these people don't like us, or this friend and us have a battle between ourselves. We've created all these problems for ourselves. And it was our ego that created those problems. Well, the other side of the ego is the willingness to learn something new, to have curiosity and a desire to up-level our skill set. And we can do that. We can learn, we've been really working with Mercury over the last several months, since really before the new year even began. So we have this capacity and this ability to change our communication style, less blame, less projection, more sharing of our feelings, and recognizing that people do actually care about us. We're just not going about it in the right way. Controlling them to care about us isn't the right way. So we have a lot that we can gather here, that we have been learning over many months, over many lifetimes, over the course of our entire lifetime. And we're all at different points with this. We're all at different places with this. But if you are somebody who has gathered some skills, use them, and by modeling them, you will help other people uplift, as opposed to dropping down to the level of other people's communication when you're in discourse with them. So this is a really powerful learning opportunity for all of us. When planets are in debility, when they're in their state of least intelligence, it is a learning opportunity. We have this tendency to think exalted good, debilitation bad, or some people are like, what do those mean? Exalted means good, debility means not so good. But really what it means is that the operating intelligence of the planet is not high. But when we see somebody with debilitated planets in their chart, they've spent their whole life with that debility. They often work very hard at mastering it, or they have something called Nichabanga that helps it out, gives it a leg up. I have a debilitated Mercury in my chart, yet I speak to people, every week or every couple weeks, and I do so with some clarity, and I know what I'm saying. So it's a lifetime of work. And Albert Einstein also had a debilitated Mercury, and he's known for his intelligence, and Mercury's the planet of intelligence. So it's not a curse to have debility. It is an opportunity to look at the ways in which we might not be as clean and clear with something as we could be. And the moon, in this case, it's our emotions, it's our mind, it's our thoughts. And how much do we let that race around and get attached to all the different dramas that we see around us and within us, and make stories about how demonic somebody is, and how, we have to do all these things in order to control their demonic behavior. And how much do we also have that courage within us to face the beast that we've created? And that doesn't mean face the person we've created as a beast. It means face the drama we've created around it. Face the part that we've made it into such a big deal. And often, if you've ever had a task on your to-do list that you just don't want to do, and you keep putting it off and keep putting it off and keep putting it off. I can be like that with taxes sometimes. And it's like, when you actually do it, it's not that hard. You take each step and it's actually pretty easy, but there's something about it. We've created some drama in our head about how hard it's going to be, or how bad it is, or how, how bad we are at dealing with that. So this is a time to gather that same ego and use our skills, maybe learn some new ones, and humble ourselves. The planet Saturn is giving drishti, and I'm actually going to share my screen here so that you guys can see this chart that I'm looking at and why I'm saying what I'm saying. So we have Saturn here gives a one-way 10-house drishti, energetic gaze to our full moon, and it's it's fairly close degrees. And this is an opportunity to see real fear. Scorpio is a lot of imagined fear. Saturn is real fear. You're going to die. It's going to happen. Your friends are going to die. Your parents are going to die. Everyone you love is going to die. We're all going to get old. We're all going to get sick. We're all going to have problems in life. We have guaranteed problems built into just existing on the earth plane, right? Our bodies are here to get older. And with that comes health problems. We have financial problems, perhaps, and this can come from, yes, the structure of society and all the unfairness of the way we've been governed, but who's allowed the governance to happen this way? People, individual people like yourself and myself have continued to accept the system as it is, continued to vote within the system, continued to accept the system. And so it is in part your fault and my fault that inequality exists and that people are reckoning with, with financial struggle, and other people are, living in $76 million homes. So that's the very real curse of being human. And Saturn sends that gaze to our moon with all of these irrational fears and all this stuff. And Saturn's in his own sign, so very powerful, very strong. And he says, look, yes, you do have these problems. You do have these monsters. And some of them come from these, these inequities in society, or these ways in which we've been taught and given, bad ideology by the social structure, whether it's through religion, whether it's through our school, whether it's through government, whether it's through our parenting or the collective, the collective parenting, if you can call it that, certainly through TV and advertisements and just the capitalistic society we live in here and in other places, other core ideologies that have been passed down. So these ways that we've been living cause actual problems in people's lives, but the emotional drama we have around everything, that this person is doing it to us, this person somehow represents all of society, or that this particular struggle we're in is completely insurmountable, that is our own personal drama. And so we have a very practical, real, humble, hardworking capacity to step into our problems, to step into our pain and do something about it. Saturn's also where we, really see our depression and our sadness. And a lot of what we're covering up in Scorpio is that it's places we feel sad and we turn it to anger. So allowing ourselves to feel that. The other thing that's happening around this moon that is, coming from less positive dignity or intelligence is Mars, the ruler of Scorpio, is debilitated also. So the moon in Scorpio is debilitated and Mars is debilitated in Cancer. And he's been here, for several weeks now. And we're dealing with this sort of woe is me victim mentality that comes from Mars and Cancer. So we have the victim mentality of Scorpio. And now we have the, I'm working so hard, I do so much for everyone and no one does anything for me. I can't get anything my way. Nothing works out for me. And that's because Cancer is a sign of unconditional love. It's a sign of the mother. It's a sign of nurturance. It's a sign of care. And Mars is a planet where we're trying to discipline ourselves. We're trying to actually individuate, not connect. And we're trying to strengthen ourselves for battles, outside and inside battles in the Scorpio realm. And we're trying to, have courage and daily discipline that we show up for. And when we don't have those things, we don't have the outer things we want in our lives, like relationships and jobs and, homes and all the other things we need. When we have a lack of discipline, we have a problem. And so this Mars is showing us where we fold on our daily discipline, where we fold on our self-strengthening in order to connect with others, and where we feel like everyone should be our mommy. And why aren't we being taken care of? And why aren't we getting our fair slice of pie? You know, mommy made it equal, and how come the world isn't making it that way? And or maybe mommy didn't make it equal, and that's my problem, is that I grew up with a bad mommy. You know, whatever our little woe and weepiness is about, this is the Mars in Cancer, and I've seen it all over the place. I mean, way before this full moon in Scorpio, the weepiness has been pretty strong. You know, people really feeling like they're somehow getting the short end of the stick, and everybody else is to blame somehow, or somehow their situation is worse than everyone else's. Now we have Venus joined our Mars here, and Venus also has a problem in Cancer. Venus is conditional love. In relationships, we give, we take. You know, it's not unconditional. You're not with another adult human to mommy them, you know, or for them to mommy you. There is a give and take. It must be that way. And if we're in relationships and we're, you know, mothering and nurturing and giving and giving and giving, and we're not receiving in return, that's on us, right? That is on us. This is our lack of capacity to hold our own boundaries and to give what we actually feel good giving, not to give in order to get something else. And this is a big theme right now. How much do you give? You know, if you are one of those people who considers yourself a giver, how much of your giving is to control other people or to get people to like you? How much of it is actually true altruism? Mostly 0%. You know, I hate to break that to everybody, but that's really true. 0% of what you're doing is altruistic. The only unconditional love we as beings really should give and do give comes from our relationship to our children, or perhaps if we are in a teacher role and we are offering something to people, our students. But in our capitalist society, generally there's a price tag on that. You know, if we're thinking of teachers as more like priests and gurus and somebody who wouldn't charge, but would maybe get donations for their time and energy. But we just don't live in that paradigm anymore. So even people with their children are conditional at this point. You know, there's rarely examples of true unconditional love that we see. And yes, there are those special souls that do offer that to people, and they give and they give, and they really genuinely don't want in return. And that is beautiful. They're very, very, very few and far between. Most people feel a little taken advantage of if they keep giving and they don't receive in return. And this is definitely true in romantic relationships. Romantic relationships over a long period of time, perhaps, you know, you sit by the bedside of your loved one when they're sick or something like that, you have moments of unconditional love. But if over the course of the entire relationship, you were giving and giving and not receiving in return, you wouldn't be in that relationship, or you would have very, very low self-worth. So there is something to be said for the fact that we're always trying to get something. And what we're usually trying to get is love, but we're getting it the wrong way. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like love because it's not. It's gotten because we gave something. And often whatever we're giving isn't even what the other person wants. It's not even what the other person needs, right? We're like, it's like giving a kid a lollipop to get their love, or to get even them to do something you want them to do. That's not legit love. That's, they want the lollipop, you know? And so we need to learn how to look at the ways in which we give, the ways in which we offer things to people, the ways in which we fold on our own strength and our own courage and our own discipline. And we need to see how that, again, is creating our problems, creating our drama, creating our lack of feeling like we're being honored and being respected. And that is where our own healing can occur. We cannot change other people. We can certainly manipulate them. We can certainly offer them lollipops and hope they show up at our birthday party. But if we want the real interpersonal relating with other people, and we want to have real authentic relationships with people, that's not where it comes from. It comes from feeling our feelings, owning our feelings, sharing our feelings with each other, and caring about each other's feelings, because most people are actually caring individuals. Most people do actually want other people to feel good, but most of what we give and receive in terms of our communication around our feelings is the story, is the projection, is the blame, And people don't respond to that very well. Only somebody who's had a lot of abuse in that way responds to that, and they're not responding from a healthy place. So the other factor that I'll touch on quick before I end here is that Jupiter, as we can see here, is just past Rahu, right? But while I'm making this video, in the days and the week leading up to this full moon, Jupiter and Rahu are exact. And this means that our beliefs, our ideals, our source of wisdom is very exaggerated and not necessarily right, but quick and fiery, because we're still in the Aries world here with Rahu and Jupiter and even Mercury still. Quick to think we're right? Quick to start and then stop and start again. And if we're wrong, okay, we're wrong. We'll say something different again tomorrow. There's actually an Emerson quote, and it's one of my favorite quotes, but it can be very misused. And this is a time when it might be misused. It's say what you think in hard words today, and tomorrow say what tomorrow thinks in hard words again, even though it may contradict everything you said today. Say what you think in hard words today, and tomorrow say what you think in hard words again, even though it may contradict everything you said today. I believe that's an opportunity invitation to allow ourselves to grow and think new things and get new information and take that information to account. And by hard words, I think solid words. I don't think harsh words. But it can be used to speak harsh words quickly without thinking and just be like, oh, tomorrow I'll change it again, which is sort of the classic gaslighting thing. In the world we grew up in, there's a lot of that, right? We're constantly told this is true by the media or the government. And then tomorrow, oh, that wasn't true. Sorry. This is the new true thing. You got to follow us on this one too. And it keeps happening, right? Well, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about that can happen here. We can really, really speak strongly about our beliefs and our ideals, or feel very strongly about our beliefs and ideals and act from that place. And we could be wrong. We could be looking at things through a delusion, through an illusion, and using our communication, because Mercury is still here for a little bit longer. Next week, he'll be in Taurus, and we'll have more grounded and friendly communication, connective communication. But right now we might still be spouting off. So it's important to recognize the ways in which you are going outside of yourself to fight your inner battles. It happens in here. And if you see it in here, or excuse me, if you see it out there, chances are it's in here. So if you're one of those people that runs around shouting at everybody and telling everybody what they're doing wrong all the time, there's a good chance there's a lot in here you're not looking at. Very good chance. And if you're one of those people who feels very weepy and victimized and like the world is always against you and you're always in an unfair situation, again, look inside. And so that is my message for this full moon. Next week might be cheerier. But I really believe these times, this is something that's a principle in all the Vedic teachings, is we're moving towards truth, Sanatana Dharma, eternal truth. We're not moving towards momentary happiness, right? Eternal truth will bring happiness, the lasting kind, but we're not bringing, it's kind of like the lollipop kind of love. Like, that's not what we're going for here. So often Mars, Saturn, the challenging planets, the dark transits, the challenges that we go through, those are the things that bring us closer to truth. The happy, fun times don't necessarily do that. They give us relief in the meantime, and they give us some lollipops along the way, but it's a rough road to truth more often than not. And so if we want the lasting kind of love and the lasting kind of happiness and the lasting kind of depth of contact with other people, it's going to require walking through some places that are uncomfortable and sitting with that discomfort. And so that's what we're here for now. And if you think of this in reflection of a larger cycle, the full moon is the apex of a new moon cycle. So we are in a Taurus cycle where it's been focused on comfort and feeling good and connection and, physical pleasure. And now we have the emotional drama to kind of highlight for us where we've been getting maybe too caught up in the comfort and not focusing on where there's some shadows lurking in the corners. And we need to do that too. And so we reflect upon that in this time, and we reflect upon the courage that we all do have within ourselves. We each hold a lot within ourselves. One of my yoga teachers that I went to for many years, Guru Singh, used to say, whatever mountain is before you, you are equal to it. And I really hope that for each of us, that we can recognize how we are equal to the mountain before us. It wouldn't be in front of us if we weren't ready for it. Namaste. If you like my forecasts and you want to know what the specific thing that's being highlighted in your life is right now in this full moon, you can go to www.radhahomeyoga.com, and I have the Stars This Week report that I do weekly reports. And in it, I reflect for all 12 rising signs what this week carries for you. And since the full moon is within this week, there's a reflection of what this full moon is showing you and highlighting for you within this cycle. And if you go back a couple weeks, you can find the one for the new moon cycle if you want to compare the two or show how you're contrasting what you started with. So I hope to see you there or on my newsletter. And if you like this video, you can like it, share, comment, and I will see you again soon. Aloha.